This week's episode of Pedal Pusher TV is brought to you by Amazon.com, GoDaddy.com, and Audible.com. It's time for Pedal Pusher TV, the show for drummers by drummers, featuring your hosts, Atlanta-based professional drummers Brian Stephens and Shannon Kori. This week's episode is sponsored by Bonzo Tune Studios, located here in Atlanta, Georgia. Bonzo Tune Studios, simply great audio. Find us on the web at bonzotunes.com. Hey guys, welcome to episode 5 of Pedal Pusher TV. I'm Brian Stephens.
I'm Shannon Kori.
And this is episode 5. We affectionately are going to call this Dose of Quattro.
Yes.
Because he had a great topic, and I'm just going to jump right into it. You already know why the heck we're here. So you had a great thing that you brought up. We were talking about marketing your services as a drummer.
Right.
How do you let people know what you do and show them and tell them? And you brought up the idea of the jam session. And to me, the jam session is an interesting animal.
Yes.
Because it's not a surefire thing.
No, it's good and bad. And I'll tell you why.
Why don't you do that? Tell us, Shannon Kori, why?
Some to-dos with jam sessions.
Okay.
Some things I have seen people do.
Okay.
And some things I wish people would do. All right, first of all, a jam session is a great way to get out and meet people.
Yep.
You know, great way to play with other people, great way to play different genres of music, like you'd mentioned the blues thing earlier.
Yep.
There's a lot of blues jams in this town, and if you don't play the blues, it's good to go learn it. You expand your vocabulary. But that being said, if you go to a jam session, first rule of etiquette, introduce yourself to the drummer and be friendly and be kind. Don't assume or expect to walk in and be like, I'm going to play.
Are you calling me out?
Well, no. Anyway.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Knowing what kind of jam session you're going to. If you're going to a blues jam session, just for example, don't go in there with your best gospel chops and blow over the first 32 bars.
Right.
It's unnecessary, and I promise you, you will not get called back. If it's a blues gig, shuffle.
Oh, yeah.
Play the tune. Play the song.
That brings up an interesting point, because when I first moved to Atlanta, I didn't play a single gig for the whole first year that I was here.
Right.
I went to a lot of jams, and in some cases, I didn't even tell people that I was a drummer.
Right.
I mean, I told them,
sometimes it's good to just observe.
Well, and that's basically what I did, is I kind of was a fly on the wall. I sat and I listened to the songs that they were playing. I made some notes of the songs that I saw pop up a lot.
Right.
Like, Stormy Monday, if it's a blues jam. Everybody and their mother is going to play Stormy Monday at a blues jam. Right. So it was like, that was one of the songs that I did not know at 22, 23 years old. And it's not just about playing a groove.
Right.
And that's probably my gripe about a few of the jam sessions I've been to lately, is you get 4 or 5 guys up on the bandstand, and everybody goes, oh, what are we going to do? This one's in D. Just kind of follow me.
Right.
And, the whole idea of the jam session is that you have to have some kind of framework to work within. And the framework is the song. The framework's not a chord progression or hey, let's play a funky beat.
Right. Let's play funk and E for 20 minutes.
Yeah. A good jam session is based on the framework of songs.
Right.
And so one of the things that I did the first year I was here is I went to jam sessions and just kind of made mental notes. Sometimes I actually took little notes under the table of songs that they were playing and songs that I saw over and over again. If you go to Cafe 290, there's a stable of songs that they're going to pull from that is different from if you go to Nick's with John McKnight's jam. If you go to the Players Jam, they've got their own thing. Some of the songs you may see show up from one place to another, but especially in different styles, there are songs that the better jams to get into are going to be with players that understand that. Yeah. They understand that, all right, so this is a jazz jam. We're going to play All of Me.
Right.
And what key are we in?
Right.
Okay, so everybody knows the melody, everybody knows the chord changes and the form, and we're just going to agree on a key and a tempo.
Right.
So now we have the framework of the tune. The jam sessions that don't work are just those open jams where guys, and unfortunately, it's usually younger players, but not always younger players. Right. Some older players in town have been going to jam sessions for 20 years, and they wonder why it's been, other than the social aspect of it,
right.
They wonder why it's unfruitful for them. Well, they really haven't taken a whole lot of notes.
Right. You got to learn from every situation you're in.
Right.
Learning the songs of, like you said, whether it's 290, learn the jazz standards, learn the blues standards, learn the rock standards, because there is specific guidelines and rules within those tunes. But if you have a framework, it's much easier to play and do your thing within the framework.
Right.
But if you just go and play over a song, you're probably not going to get called back all that much.
Right.
Even if you have the best chops in the world, nobody's going to pay attention to it if you don't have an idea what to do in the song.
And there are a few, you have to kind of know the difference between a healthy and an unhealthy jam session too.
Absolutely.
Because there are some jam sessions that, and I really saw this when I was younger and first in this town, there are some jam sessions I walked into where you could tell that the agenda was to cut heads.
Yeah. Yeah.
And unfortunately, that is, if we're talking about music and we're talking about sharing experience,
right.
That's not the healthiest experience to be in, especially if you're inexperienced.
Right.
Because there's this weird kind of thing where certain guys get off on dusting
right.
less experienced people or throwing them curveballs to kind of, it's like, oh, I'm going to show him.
Right.
I'm going to show him he doesn't. And so understand the difference between a healthy jam session environment and an unhealthy jam session environment, because they exist.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I think the biggest key there is to remember that music is music. It's an art form. It's not a competition. Right. It's certainly not an athletic competition. Right. And it seems to be more the norm now that some jam sessions are more about cutting heads, which is fine to a point if you know that going in. But if you're going to learn and trying to gain something out of the experience, just pay attention, ask questions.
It's one thing, like if you, especially in either a blues situation or a jazz situation where you have these open solos, it's one thing for two players to get up there and just burn as maybe inspiration for the other guy.
Sure.
Yeah, and you can tell the difference.
Yeah, if you're playing off of each other, it's one thing.
It's like I'm bringing it, and I'm hoping that inspires you to bring it, and that's going to take me to a new level,
right.
and you're going to take me there, and I'm going to take you there. And it's like that's that collective vibe
right.
that breeds great music.
But if you're just trying to make the other guy look bad, then you're kind of making yourself look bad too.
Yeah, you look like a hole. You really do. It's a family-friendly show,
that's
right? You really do. I mean, you don't come off looking like a badass. You come off looking like an ass. To the general, I mean, maybe your little circle of people, you get a good chuckle out of it. I don't know. Luckily, those aren't the circles that I revolve in.
Right.
The circles I revolve in are generally people that are very nurturing. And they're understanding of the inexperienced player, and they're very welcoming of the experienced player.
Right.
Like, if I were playing at a jam session and you came in, I'd be like, dude, you've got to play. You got to get up there and play. And I would say, the majority of the jam sessions are like that. But not all of them. So know the difference.
Right.
And if there's an unhealthy jam situation, even if it feels like a crowd of cool kids, stay out of it, man. Because you're going to get nothing but an inferiority complex. Nothing.
And even if you go and decide not to play or don't want to play, pick out the members of the players that you like, introduce yourself.
Be social.
Be social, network, man. And make a business card, leave it. It's a great way to get going in that field.
Well, it's like the last episode we talked about. This is a people business.
Yes.
It's at a certain point, talent is a given.
Right.
It's about how well do you relate to the people you're going to work with and that experience.
Right. And I would say a bigger percentage has to do with the personality of the person you work with versus the talent, because if the guy is easy to work with and he shows up prepared and he sounds great, you're going to get called.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas if you might be, the fastest hands on the planet, it doesn't always mean anything.
Now, when it comes time for you to take a solo, melt faces.
Yeah, you got to melt.
Yeah, if you can do that, and, if I need to, in post-production, put a big arrow this way. If you can melt faces, melt faces. If you can play something kind of creative and, and people go, that's pretty good. Arrow goes back this way. then do that. But yeah, I mean, when it comes time to shine by all means.
Right.
But realize that the rest of the time, probably the other 98% of the time, you're there to help service the other musicians, to serve as the real backbone for what they're trying to do. And, spur them on, find ways to listen to what they're doing and really take it somewhere.
You can definitely drive a band without being perceived as overplaying, too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
definitely.
And that's a big one. And part of that is just paying attention.
Yeah.
And learning and even asking whoever's on the bandstand, what do you like? Do you like to be pushed? Do you like to sit behind? Those, and that's even another episode we can get into.
Yeah.
But there's etiquette in jam sessions, but it's the gist of it is more networking, which is what we're tying into is the last episode.
Yeah, so more important than the playing is getting to know people and establishing some rapport and having conversations. And, don't be the first to whip your card out. Don't be like, hey, my name's Brian, here's the card.
Right.
Let it organically get to that place.
Right.
You may meet somebody and within the first 3 minutes find out that is a person you don't want them to have your card.
Right.
You don't want them to call you for gigs because they're one of those guys that all they're going to do is try and make it look bad. I don't want to know those people. Now there's a variant of this jam session thing, which is sitting in.
Right.
So for me, I as I've gotten further and further along, and we talked about this off camera, sometimes the jam session's hard to do because you'll go and sit on somebody's drum set and it's either set up really weird, really different, or maybe there's cymbals or there's a lot of drummers that
or
I
they
sit
give
in.
you a drumstick and it's the size of a baseball bat and you're like, how do I play with this?
And they put their drumsticks are hidden.
Right.
Or they walk away
They
with
give
them.
you the broken one.
It's all duct taped, and it's got it's got a little duct tape up here. It's held together on the back with a little bit of gum and a paper clip. I don't know. And there's my phone again. I told you I should have put that in the other room. So what I find is the jam session is less productive for me, other than the social aspect.
Right.
What's more productive for me in a playing situation is going and showing up to your gig. Now, I didn't sit in the other night,
right.
but it wasn't. I didn't expect to.
Sure.
And it didn't seem like that kind of vibe.
Right.
But there are certain times when you go to somebody's gig and if you have the rapport and it's the environment, you might sit in for a couple of songs with the band.
But let their drummer ask you.
Yes.
Don't go up with the assumption.
Hey man, I play drums.
Hey man.
I brought my sticks.
I got a card.
Hey man, I brought my sticks. I got my stick bag.
Did you see that guy the other night?
No.
I did a gig Friday night. The guy literally came up in the middle of the song, was wanting to sing backups.
Oh my God, I hate that. I hate that.
And it's like, really? I don't come to your job and interrupt you.
Hey man, I brought all my harmonicas. I got all 12 keys in my harmonicas. I even have a chromatic one. I can play any song. You just tell me what key it is. I'll pick it right. I've got holsters. I look like Rambo.
That's another show.
I'm the Rambo of harmonicas. I'm telling you, I've had it happen.
It's true.
Yeah,
It's true.
There's an etiquette to that. If you don't know the drummer,
right.
If you go to see somebody play a gig, by all means, introduce yourself, be friendly. Don't expect to sit in. If anything, just get to know the guy, and maybe you can over time build that relationship,
develop that rapport, and then you do get a chance to sit in.
But there are guys that I know and have known for a long time, and I'll show up to their gig to see them play and to socialize and just enjoy. Or like the other night, we were just eating oysters. Well, I wasn't eating oysters. My wife was eating oysters. And if that's the environment, then to me that's been more productive for me, because that's a little bit more of an environment where people they don't expect as much.
Right.
It's a little lighter hearted. And because the band is already having to play songs from a set list, you're going to fall into the songs that they were going to play.
Anyway.
You don't end up with that. Well, this one's in E and it's 12-bar blues.
Right.
Yeah, you don't fall into these endless things. They go, hey, do you know Bad Company? Can't get enough. Yeah, no problem, dude.
Right.
1, 2, 3, go blah, and we're in. So, again, find those opportunities as you network with people. Don't be afraid to go out and see people play. Don't expect to play, but realize that for certain players, especially if you're a little further along in your career, the sit-in is more effective than the jam session. Yeah. The jam session, there's a lot of variables.
Right.
You know, I call it the lowest common denominator syndrome. the weakest player in the jam is exactly where we're going to go.
Right.
That's as high as it's going to get.
That's true. That's very
Whereas
true.
if you're going and you're sitting in with a working band, it's generally great players. And they're all there playing songs that they know collectively. And so it helps to frame what you do a little bit better. So meet people, network, go to jam sessions, go to SitIn, go and don't expect to sit in. I'm trying to really, you get I'm pushing that idea.
Absolutely.
I mean, I try and be gracious when people show up and let them sit in when I can. If I'm subbing a gig, I usually don't let people sit in.
Well, and there's something enjoyable about going to somebody's gig and watching that person play their gig.
Yeah.
You know,
I
there's
learned a
nothing
lot
to be
from
wrong with that either.
Yeah,
you know?
I learned a lot from watching you the other night. Just things like, not just licks, but like things about how to treat songs, you know, that are different than how I would treat songs.
Right.
And maybe some of that creeps its way into what I do the next time I play that song.
Cool.
Let's hope so, because it's all a learning experience.
Again, we're just sharing some knowledge and some thoughts and ideas with you. If this helps you, fantastic. You know, if it doesn't, well, we tried.
We just wasted the last 12 to 15 minutes of your day. No, that's why we're here at Pedal Pusher TV. Is just we're here to share from our experiences, to talk about things that matter to drummers, playing techniques, gear, abstract concept, business, any of that stuff. If you enjoy what you're seeing, please, by all means, email us at kick@pedalpusher.tv. That you can send emails, questions, video links. If you want to do a YouTube video response, we really do. We welcome all of that stuff. We really like to get you guys involved. We're not just here. If we weren't wanting to get you involved, we would just go to lunch like we need to do right now.
Yeah.
And we would just do this over sesame chicken.
There you go.
So by all means, send us something to kick@pedalpusher.tv. And please, please visit our sponsors, Amazon.com and GoDaddy. If you go to the pedalpusher.tv website, you can click through those banners and go right to their website. Anything that you purchase there, whether it's a domain or an MP3 or whatever, a pair of slacks. If you go to Amazon, you buy a packet of socks. We get a little piece of that.
Get a piece of the sock.
And it helps us to, get a piece of the sock. And it helps us to defray the cost of production and bandwidth. So we thank you for watching, and I guess we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
If you enjoy the show, take a moment to click the affiliate links and banner ads on our website. A portion of what you spend on our sponsors' products comes directly back to us to defray the costs of production and bandwidth. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again next week. Weekly master classes, all kinds of.
me.
Yeah, I'm not going to do anything because I can't play worth a shit. But him, oh wait, this is family. Some of y'all are probably watching this at work. I'm sorry. I apologize. I can't really play at all.
Why are they watching this at work?
Because it's a lot more interesting than work.
It's our drum hang. We're just
it's
videoing it.
Yeah, exactly. And chopping it up. Like when we do this.
It's hours.
Yeah, it's hours, and it's tangents, tons of tangents, and we start in one place and we go like 500 different directions. The real challenge for us has been to focus on like one topic, and sometimes I have to cut him off and tell him we'll talk about that next time, which I just did. So we're gonna talk about that.
Did you see that?
I just cut him off. Rude son of a gun. This is episode 5, right?
5.
5?
It's dose 2.
That's so it's dose of quattro.
Wait, that's right.
Dose of quattro.
quattro.
Man, this is gonna get really tricky.
All right.
All right, here we go. This is number 5.